But even more, share this video on your own social media. It does a lot to help us grow our Awaken family here on YouTube. So with that being said, stay safe, stay well, and stay curious. Until next time.